All right, here we are at Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Gee, Bill, you think 290 podcasts later, maybe they won't be such rookies. Maybe I won't be such a rookie, huh?
I would think so, but evidently not. I'm doing surveys right now asking people about some stuff, and it's quite interesting to hear how long
Excuse me.
it takes for people to do stuff.
Excuse me. I'm doing research.
Yeah. And you know what? It's not years. I thought it was maybe months, possibly years. No, it's not maybe years. It's decades.
Hey,
oh,
Bill,
my God.
Bill, maybe it's never. All right.
Before we start today, this is episode number 290. I would like to proclaim immediately that this podcast will be a classic. This will be a go-to, come back to podcast for years to come.
Wow.
The title of this podcast that I am so bragging about is called Rookie Creative Real Estate Slot Machine Jackpot.
Slot machine. Jackpot. Cha-ching. 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 Play the music. Cha-ching.
Yeah. I wish I could play music. Here's the description. Real estate schools kill deals. End of podcast. No.
Hey, real estate. I've heard writing classes, like college writing classes, produce no writers.
Yeah.
None.
I'm going to get something to drink here.
Hey, no drinking on the job.
Yeah, I wish. All right, here we go. Here's the description. Real estate schools kill deals. So many rookies want to study with these real estate trainings. But here's what's wrong. No profits or real estate deals received with your diploma.
Yeah, right, huh?
Which is why today we are going to cover the one-armed-bandit known as the creative real estate slot machine that allows you to put in $100 and win thousands and thousands of dollars now and monthly if you follow this simple and fast procedure. Without classroom time, listening to videos, studying books, or even needing to practice. Here is why. 96% of every adult has done what we're about to reveal, but never thought about turning it into real estate income. So let's get that slot machine spinning so you can hit your jackpot payday as quick as possible. Today, not only will you learn how to beat this gambling machine, but we will reveal the common barriers like finding deals, scripts, paperwork for the transactions, and how to get tons of confidence the first day on the job. We got a lot to cover, Peter, so let's get going.
Mighty big words, Mr. Hawthorne. But I bet you can back it up. Here it goes, folks. Watch them go.
I'm in the fighting mode this morning, man. I'm reared right up, ready to go. But before we start, I have to make sure we cover our sponsors. Oh, wait a minute. We don't have any of those. 290 podcasts without a sponsor. No commercials, no advertising, no anything except benefit to our listeners.
No strings attached. No strings
attached. That's what we got to call the podcast. No strings attached. But I will tell you very loosely in the beginning of the podcast that there is a link in the description that will deliver my full promise, well worth hundreds of dollars, sitting there waiting for you. So if you have the excuse, Mr. or Mrs. Listener, that I don't have the paperwork, I don't have the scripts, I don't have this, it's in the description. So shut up, get that noise in your head, out of your head, and go click on the link.
Bill, come on, tell us how you really feel. Come on.
Yeah, there you go. I did.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to ask him for a review after I get done yelling at him.
Oh, jeez.
if you so care to review us or leave us a review or subscribe to our channel, it would be good even after I just got done yelling at you.
It'll be like this. Bill made me cry, but then I bought a house.
I cried all the way to the bank.
Bad bedside manner, but he told me the truth.
All right, Peter. So here we go. Most may ask, Pete, if this is true, is there such a thing as a creative real estate slot machine jackpot? The one-armed bandit? And the answer is yes. So let me explain how it works.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest obvious, and when I mean obvious, what does obvious mean, Peter?
Well, you should be able to see it. It's right in front of your face if you just look at it or just think about it. Just pay attention. It's right there.
You can't miss it, right?
It's like your nose. It's hard to see your own nose, you know.
Well, mine is pretty big, so I don't have trouble. So the biggest obvious secret in real estate is this thing called an option. Now, in the stock market, options are used every minute of every stock market day. It makes billions of dollars, not with an M, with a B, billions of dollars weekly. Here's why. An option is a seller giving the buyer the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell an underlying asset, like a stock or an index, at a specific price or on or before a certain date.
Hey, Bill, what's an index? I don't know
It's-
what that is.
Oh, okay.
I know what a stock is. An index.
I almost didn't say it because of that.
Yeah, well, it's not stupid. I don't deal with that stuff. I'm sure other people don't either. I represent the other rookies and rookettes in the listening world who might have questions, and I ask for you. By the way, folks, if that happens, just keep a little, just open your phone and look it up. I'm not going to do it during the podcast because I'm supposed to be paying attention. But do that.
So it's a stock market index is a statistical measure which shows changes taking place in the stock market. Any change taking place in the underlying stock prices impact the overall value of the index. So the prices of most of the underlying securities rise, then the index will rise vice versa.
Okay.
Okay.
Close enough.
And I'm going to read it again. I'm going to do it without the index stuff. An option is a seller giving the buyer the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell an underlying asset at a specific price or on or before a certain date. An option is a security, just like a stock or a bond, and constitutes a binding contract with strictly defined terms and properties. So let's look up security.
I checked that once a while ago because you hear that all the time. You go, wait a minute, what does that exactly mean? If I saw one, would I recognize it?
So security is a protection form or resilience against potential harm or other unwanted coerced change caused by others by restraining the freedom of others to act. So an option is a security. So what does that mean?
Well, you have some safety. Like if you buy something on an option, you don't have to buy it. Like if the numbers don't work out for you some way or the deal doesn't work out, you can say, no, thanks.
Exactly.
So you're safe that way. So how many times have you said, if you do this kind of transaction, you have no risk, a couple of bucks, and it's like buying a lottery ticket. Oh, should I buy it? I don't know. Geez, should I spend the $5? Oh God, I don't know. If you win, you make a bunch. If you don't, it's $5.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's all correct. So if you wanted to trade some Apple computer stock worth $400 per share, you can use this thing called an option and pay for the right to trade that Apple stock for a very small fraction of the $400 per share.
Crazy.
Say maybe $4 per share. Once you have this agreement from your seller and the Apple stock goes to $450 a share, you have a legal stance to sell and make the $50 profit. If the stock if the stock shrinks to say $350 per share, you're not legally obligated to pay the $400 a share and lose the $50.
Right, because that time window comes up, and you'd have to buy it at 400, because that's what you said, and sell it at 350. No dope would do that.
Right. So the only thing that you lose is the $4 to buy the rights.
Yeah.
You don't lose $50, you lose $4.
Yeah, because we're not stockbrokers. We can't sell stock unless you put some money in, get the option, then you have the legal right to do so, right?
Right. And so many people think that you have to have a lot of money in stocks. And if you understood this simple concept of an option, you don't. You can buy and sell options. Right? There's a whole industry that does that.
Is there, just out of curiosity, what's the timeline on this stuff? Is it set? Is it very long, very short?
Well, by definition, it says an option is a security. I'm sorry. An option is a seller giving the buyer the rights, but not the obligation to buy or sell an underlying asset at a specific price on or before a certain date.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I know in our world, we can make it 90 days. We can make it a few years if we wanted. I mean, what's this? I don't even know. Just practically, do people take an option for a few years or just a month or 2 or 3?
I think it's usually days, but it could be anything. I'm sure it's, I don't know.
I don't think it could be too long, but I get the point. Just curious.
All right. So now it's time for the magic.
Yep.
This same option concept or principle or right to buy scenario works exactly the same in real estate because real estate's an asset.
Yeah.
Now imagine this. You talk to a seller. They think the only two choices they have to sell their property is for sale by owner or with a realtor.
Yep.
Both of them are conflicting problems. One, if the for sale by owner, aka known as the FSBO, if the for sale by owner wants to sell on their own, they don't know the how-tos. And are usually amateur or don't have the time to do it. And how do I know this? This is 1,000% correct because 88.7% for sale by owners go to a realtor.
They give up and say, "Oh, heck with it."
Now here's the stupid thing is realtors actually believe the reason why they come to them is because they're smarter than they are. They know how to do this. But if you've listened to me for more than 5 minutes and hear me talk about realtors, which, by the way, I don't dislike realtors. I think their system is for certain people. Just like in marketing, if you're going to sell donuts, you probably aren't going to go sell donuts. I don't know. At a
Weight Watchers, or
I was thinking a Whole Foods store, right? You know, like where they sell Whole Foods. You probably aren't going to sell donuts there, right? Because those people don't want sugar, right?
No, it has to be organic, whole wheat flour. It has to be xylitol sugar, coconut sugar, $5 a pound. Thank you. Yeah,
exactly. So if you want to sell donuts, probably the best thing to do is to go to the church carnival on Sunday morning where all the kids are down there playing and like, whee, here we go, donuts, right?
Yeah.
So this is the way I feel about a realtor system. It has its place. It works. It's been working since 1949. But the truth of the matter is it doesn't fit for everybody.
Right.
And what most realtors don't know, they're realtors and have been for years. I know because I've asked them this question. what is your sole purpose to your seller? They can't answer the question. Most of them. And here's the answer. The purpose of a realtor is to find the buyer. That's it. I mean, picture this. Back in 1950, there's a small town USA, Main Street, USA.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that knows that, 15 people or 3 people or 1 person on that street, whatever you want to say, wants to sell their house. And he says, oh, I know someone. And he puts them together.
Yeah.
That's how it started. Right? That's exactly how it started. Now, does it mean that the realtor is going to hold their hand and consult them all the way through the deal? Well, I will tell you, one of the main questions you should ask, and most people don't know this, before you hire a realtor is how many deals have you closed on in the last 12 months? And if that number is less than 20, run like hell.
Yep.
Run as fast as you can, because that realtor they could be your wife or your husband. I don't care. Run like hell, because that realtor doesn't know enough to get you through the transaction without a lot of trouble. Ever wonder why, Pete? Ever wonder why when you do a closing with a realtor system, why, especially at the closing, there's so many phone calls and so many unfinished things, like last minute, like we got to do this, we got to do that. This is the reason why, is because the realtors aren't educated on this, and they don't have the foresight to tell their seller, hey, this is coming, that's coming, this is coming. But the people that are doing 20 plus deals a year, my realtor, the one I was using for a very long time, did 71 deals in a year.
Yep.
The reason why is because she had her and 2 other people working for her, and they were all over the procedure. Most realtors aren't like that, number 1. Number 2, they don't know how to negotiate, most of them. Most of them are not. Well, first of all, in realtor school, you're not trained how to negotiate. You're not trained on sales tactics. You're not trained on any of that stuff. You're not trained on marketing. You're just trained to get listings, put it on the MLS, and there you go. Right? Okay. Way too much time talking about realtors. I got on a rant there. So my point is, if you're using a realtor, you need to pay the high fees and contact and the contract for a minimum of 6 months. You get put in realtor jail.
Yep.
So the choice is, I sell it on my own, I keep the fees, and I'll wing it, or I go into realtor jail for 6 months. Right? And realtor jail consists of, keeping the house clean and spontaneously the realtor calling me up and saying, we're going to show it in 10 minutes because somebody's sitting out front. That's realtor jail, that kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah, and if you come up with somebody on your own who wants it, still has to go through the realtor, and you have to pay the commission. It's not like, oh, I found somebody, never mind. Nope. Yeah,
and what most for sale by owners realize once they get going, or don't realize until they get going, is the cost to sell is more than just the 5 or 6% for the realtor. There's 3% for negotiating, there's 3% for repairs to get the loan, 3% for closing costs. It adds up to somewhere around 15%. And you can cut some corners, but it's never less than 10.
You know what I learned from you? One of the things that I learned from you is when you're doing any kind of business situation, any deal, you have to do the entire deal, all the numbers, not just one part of it. Like if the percent is too high, I wouldn't do that. You get all the numbers, the whole story, and see what it turns out. Costs going in, money coming out, and decide.
Right. So I run my finances that way. So if I say, okay, I'm going to buy a new car and it's $299 a month, I don't look at $299 a month. I look, okay, well, I make $100,000 a year, $299 a month or $300 a month is, $3,600 a year. So now I don't make $100,000 anymore. I make $100,000 minus the $3,600.
Yeah. Or add $3,600 to it, because being self-employed, we can do that. We just up the game. Yeah, but you do all the numbers. So the whole closing, not just a real. I talk to people all the time, 5%. Well, what about the rest of it? What? Yeah. You'll see. Let's find out before it happens.
All right, good. So now you come along and say to this seller, well, there could be a third choice. And their attention perks up because they don't know there's a third choice.
Yeah.
See, when you use this option agreement that we were talking about, you legally become a very small equity partner, not a controlling equity partner, but a very small equity partner in the property. And the law says, and this is the law all over the United States, not just one state. It's not state by state specific. The law says you're a part owner and you don't need a license to sell because you're a part owner because of this option agreement.
Yep.
You have the rights to sell. The seller of the property, the deeded person, the person on the deed gave you permission to go sell this property for them and made you an equity partner.
Yep.
Now watch this. Our slot deal machine. Slot stands for sandwich, lease option, transfer. So that means you're going to get an option and you're going to transfer it. Watch this. Let's say your seller owes too much money on a property and they can't pay commission or fees.
Right.
Or they're, I've had this happen with for sale by owners that, a free and clear property. The seller's been paying on this thing for like 30 years. This is kind of like putting money away in the old Christmas funds at the bank, right?
Yeah.
You put in $5, and at the end of the year, you go get your $3,000, right? So you can go Christmas shopping. This is the same way with a free and clear person. They've been putting their money away. They've been banking it every month for 30-something years.
360 payments later.
Or more.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you're clever, you could do it less. But the point is they've worked on this for years. Now you come along, and that now they want to go do something, and they're like, I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to withdraw my money. That's what a free and clear person thinks.
Cha-ching.
I'm going to go withdraw my money because I want to blank.
Yeah.
I want to buy a smaller house. I want to retire. I want to go, whatever. I want to pay off my debt, whatever. Right. And that's what they're thinking. So they're going to want their full asking price because they worked hard for it. So what I'm saying is this slot deal works there. So it doesn't have to be they're over leveraged. It could simply mean that they just want their full asking price and not willing to come off of that price.
Yep.
The point that I'm making here is slot deals are when you have to pay full asking price.
Right.
Okay. So let's say your seller owes too much, or they don't want to pay commission or fees to sell, or they're one of these free and clear people that just don't want to pay fees and they just want to keep all the money. Right? You could come along and tell the seller you could pay that price. What? We're investors. What do you mean pay that price? Oh, rattle it in your shoes.
How are we going to make any money?
Yeah. We
need a discount.
You mean when I do the seminar and I show people how I pay $260,000 for a house and I sell it for $260,000, I make $84,000?
Just a minute. What's 260 minus 260? Zippo, buddy. Zippo.
Not in my world, it's $84,000.
Yeah, I know how that turned out. That's funny. But
the hint for our listeners right now is listen to me carefully because this is an understated, profound statement. The money is in the money, not the real estate. The money is in the money, not the real estate. In other words, the paperwork is where the money is. Why do you think banks do it? Banks are not in the real estate business. They're in the money business.
Bill, I was just thinking that. Here's as an example. You borrow $1,000 from the bank, and over a few years, you pay them back the $1,000. How does the poor bank make any money?
Yeah.
Think about it. You borrow $1,000, you pay $1,000. Aren't they kind?
My friend Jay, our friend Jay,
yeah.
One night we were at the cigar shop, and he made this most profound statement. He said, imagine being a government. I'm like, no. Come on, dude. They got it made. I said, tell me. He said, yeah. He says they print the money. Then they give it to you and let you use it for 2 or 3 times, and then they take it all back.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit. He's right.
Yeah.
All right. So you come along and you tell your seller you would pay that price, and he or she would be willing to have a delayed payoff or cash out. In other words, you will agree with your seller to pay their full asking price, pay all their monthly expenses, and pay him or her off in a 2-year period or less without any landlord obligations. What?
Bill, you know what I just thought about 2 minutes ago? Everything takes time and effort, right? To make money. Some time and some effort. Time and effort. Always. How else are you going to do it? In this situation, we're asking the person to give some time and less effort.
Yep.
We take the effort away from them.
Yep.
And they still make the money.
Okay.
Right?
It's 100% correct.
Right? So if you'll wait a little while, I'll take the effort away from you. And for that value to you, I'll make some money. And so will you.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? A little more time, but less effort. I mean, you got to give something, because we've talked to people who won't give you time and won't give you the effort. They won't give you anything. Okay, you walk away. But there are people who will.
Exactly right. Now, I don't want our listeners to get nervous. Because we're going to find, because remember, we're offering to pay full price. We're offering to pay their monthly expenses, all their monthly expenses, and no landlord obligations.
Yeah.
So some of our podcast listeners may not have been patient enough with us and just hung up on us. They just hit the stop button, right? But some of them are still with us. Now, don't get nervous, because here's what we're going to do. We're going to find a buyer who we can assign all the monthly payments, all the landlord obligations, and get them to pay it off in 2 years.
Bill, who would do that?
81% of all buyers looking for property, 81%. And this is pre-COVID numbers. And I'm hoping that we're going to a seminar this week, and I'm hoping that I can get an updated number for that.
Oh, yeah.
So please don't let me forget that. So 81% of all buyers qualify or don't qualify for a bank loan.
Right.
But still want a house. And a majority of them have stacks of cash hidden in their mattress. Now, until you do this, you won't believe me. You won't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which, by the way, I want to divert. I was writing an email this morning, and I want to tell you that this is what I woke up thinking about this morning. Right?
Yeah.
Here's my life, Peter. You ready?
Surely.
Because we're talking about this right now. We're talking about this, and it's apropos for exactly what we're talking about. Because what I'm telling you is that people have stacks of cash, and until you do this, you won't know. If you had to teach your kid how to ride a bicycle,
Yeah.
would you have your kid watch videos about bike riding?
Bill, we didn't have that once upon a time. You couldn't do that.
Okay. Would you have them read a book about bike riding?
Who wants to read books?
Have your kid watch some seminar about bike riding?
Let's go down to the Holiday Inn Saturday morning.
Let your kid tell you how afraid they are of falling. Would you let that happen?
Oh, get on the bike.
Maybe sign the kid up for some classes so they can learn how to ride a bike.
Not spending money on that. My father didn't do that. No.
No, what are you going to do? You're going to get a bicycle. You're going to put the kid on the bike, kicking, screaming, crying, and you're going to push him.
Push, zoom.
There you go.
Steer
You're
it, baby.
This is how my life is with our listeners. This is what it's like. It's like I'm teaching them how to ride a bike, and it's the only way it's going to happen is for them to get on the bike, and I push it. This is the slot machine. Okay?
It's true.
So 81% of all buyers don't qualify for a bank loan, but they have stacks of cash. They also, the other thing they have, Peter, all of them, 100% of them, they all have a story.
Oh, yeah.
They all have a story of their colorful past.
What happened?
And some justification of why they're right about their colorful past. Now, they're ashamed of it, and they tell it to you in confidence while they're whispering, but they have to tell you.
But it's like a big excuse for them too, right?
It's a justification, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not a big deal. Remember the guy that I had in New York looking for a place in Connecticut? He had $400,000 in his 401k.
Yeah.
And he could pull 10% easy out, easy for huge down payment. But Credit score, And he was a hero, saved people from a burning building in New York on his way to work on friggin' bridges like 500 feet up in the air. And he couldn't get a loan. How do you like that, America?
Yeah.
Welcome to America. It's not all bad, but stupid thing, bank things like that do happen.
Bureaucracy, American bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy.
So if we advertise this house that the seller allowed us to take on an option and let us take 2 years to pay them before they cash out, right? I want to talk about that for a second. So what would happen if this seller couldn't sell this property? They owe full asking price. They owe what the house is worth. What would happen to them? 90-something% of them are going to rent it. They become what we call accidental landlords.
Yeah.
They can't sell the property because they got to bring money to the table, right? The house is worth 200, they owe 200, and there you go.
Yeah, you'd think they'd stay in it, but we're talking people that for some reason have to go. Yeah. They got to go.
Okay. So if we advertise this house like this, house for sale, no bank qualifying, and then a description, not even a description, just put pictures up, 6 or 8 pictures. Just on Facebook Marketplace alone. Right? You'll get more than enough buyers looking to give you a chunk of dough and move in. I just did one not too long ago. I got 300 responses in a week. About a dozen applications to choose from.
Yikes.
Now, I'm not even going to go into this because this is a whole podcast by itself. But let's say you actually take my advice and you go find one of these buyers. I'm sorry, one of these sellers, and you start to advertise to these buyers.
Yeah.
Now, I just got done telling you I put a house on Facebook Marketplace, and I got 300 people that inquired. Let's just say 150 of them or 100 of them, just being conservative, are interested, really interested. A dozen of them gave me an application.
Yep.
Now watch this. This is oh my God. This is worth the whole podcast, and I didn't even put it on my notes. You get 100 people that are interested in this house. You save those names. Now we use REI Reply, which is $50 a month as a customer relationship management software. It's a CRM. It's really used. It's all real estate oriented, very easy to use.
Okay? Hey, it's so easy. Mary and I can use it.
Exactly. So now watch this. You save those 100 names.
Yeah.
As your buyers list.
Now
watch this. Your next seller comes along that you're going to do a slot deal with, and here's what you say. Hey, Pete, I've got 100 people on my list that are waiting to get a house like this.
Wow. That sounds good.
What happens now? Does it matter what you say to this person? Does the script matter? Does the math matter? Oh, Pete, you know what? I'm going to pay your full asking price. I'm going to take over your monthly payments. I'm going to pay you whatever it costs you per month. I'm going to do no landlord. You don't have to do any landlording. And I'm going to give you people that are going to go in the house for 2 years. They're going to rent from you, and then within the 2 years, they're going to get qualified for a mortgage.
Yep.
And I've got 100 people on my list. What do you think they're going to say? What script? What do you need a script for? I mean, come on. That's benefit, 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 and then another benefit to the seller.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. By the way, if we sign this option agreement with the seller and they decide they want to go to a realtor, they just need to tell the realtor that I have this option agreement, so they have to be exclusive from your contract. In other words, if Bill sells my house, you can't charge me commission.
Yeah.
They don't like it, but they do it all the time.
Well, they have a chance to sell the house and make a commission, and if not, would they lose? They didn't put any money in. They put on the MLS, and they're waiting in the office for something to happen, for some other agent to show the house and call them and say, "You got a deal." What's the skin off their back?
What's the downside? That's what Pete's saying. What's the downside?
Nope.
All right. Now let's make this.
Bill, question: if in this situation, if the seller found a buyer on his own somehow, there's just somebody he knows has somebody he knows and sells it. Do we just say that's fine? We let him do it, or what?
They have to send a letter to us
Yeah.
saying, something in writing saying, I found a buyer and I want to quit my option agreement.
So we even let them out of it, like just that easy.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I can't remember of a time that actually happened to me in my lifetime.
Yeah, I'm just asking in case somebody, in case somebody's thinking of it, what if, and if somebody asks me,
that's the problem. That's the problem is that people are thinking about riding a bicycle and they come up with all these scenarios about how they might fall and scrape their knee. Oh, boo hoo. So you got to scrape knee. Get on the damn bike and do it again.
Right.
Right.
And by the way, the reason I asked that is just to have the information. I learned from you a long time ago, you don't have to have all the answers. So if you start a transaction like this, every time you hit something you don't know, you don't say, "Oh, geez, I screwed up. I don't know the answer." You say, "Excuse me, I don't know the answer to that. I'll call you back tomorrow or tonight," and you go find the answer. Call me, call Bill, look it up.
So basically, what you're saying, Pete, is you say to the seller, "Hey, look, I've never run into that before, so I'm not quite sure. But you know what? I had this networking group, or I had this friend, or I had this partner that's done hundreds of deals, which happens to be me." And he would know. So let me go ask him and I'll call you tomorrow. And then you just go send a support ticket in on flippinghousesforrookies.com.
Yeah.
And then I will give you an answer. And then you go back and you tell them. I mean, who's offering that to you right now?
Right.
All right. I have to do this the Pete Cocola way.
Excuse me.
Let's make this rookie real estate slot machine jackpot real with some deal structuring math.
Okay.
Let's do a deal.
Yep.
Example: seller owes $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
These are round numbers, so we can do math in our head.
Yeah.
It's not normally this way, but this is the way it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The monthly payment is $1,500, and that includes the taxes, insurance, and there is no other payments.
Yep.
You promise to pay this seller $200,000 and cover the $1,500 monthly payment.
Mm-hmm.
And the seller in exchange lets you do that for 2 years until you can pay them off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the way this works is you're going to actually sign an option agreement and a lease agreement. They're two documents that are interchangeable. They're two documents, though. They're not on the same document.
Right.
Right. You're going to pay. Now, I pay $100 for the rights because I believe that's a fair number. You could pay $1. You could pay $10. It has to be valuable consideration. In legal terms, that means paper money. So the smallest denomination of paper money is $1.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is I use 100. You could use. I mean, I used $10 one time and made $18,000 just on an option. No lease, no anything, just on an option. Okay.
Sure.
So, which brings me to the point. One of my coaching clients is asking this question. Realize there's one option for our three types of strategies. So we have the slot deal, we have the option deal, and we have the rent-to-own deal, which are all done with options.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same option. The difference is what the seller's willing to do. You change the terms.
Yeah.
So you change how much you're paying, how long you get, and how to communicate to you. That's it. It's all the same document.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in this case, what we're doing is we're going to sign an option agreement with our seller for $200,000, $1,500 a month for 2 years.
Right.
Okay, and we're going to give them $100. I prefer you do that with a check, so you have records, right?
Yeah.
That you gave them $100, right? And that's going to give you an exclusive right to sell the property.
Mm-hmm.
Right? known as your so the $100 is known as your option consideration deposit.
Yeah.
Okay, which makes it legally binding. Now you're going to jump onto Facebook Marketplace, and you're gonna put an ad in Marketplace, say house for sale, no bank qualifying. Put up 6 or 8 pictures, right? Photos that you took. Which, by the way, this works best with vacant houses. If there's people in the house, it makes it harder to do because you can't show it as many times. But you could do it that way. It's just harder.
Yeah, I did it once, and you kind of have to go there each time.
So now you're going to find a buyer to Facebook, and you're going to actually go to Marketplace, and you're going to put it up for sale for $210,000 and $1,500 a month with a 2-year lease and option agreement. So here's what you're going to do: is you're going to find your buyer, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to find your seller, and you're going to match make them. The seller gives you $10,000 down, which is 5%, which is what FHA requires, which is a standard 5% down, which they'll have that money. Which means that if he's paying $210,000 and he gives you $10,000 down, he owes $200,000, which is exactly the amount that you promised your seller you would get him. So basically, here's what happens. And you tell everybody in the deal this is happening. It's no secret. Because the seller's going to ask, what are you going to charge me to do this?
Exactly. Because everybody's thinking the realtor charges, the lawyer charges, everybody charges, and they're trying to avoid that. So they go, now, how much are we going to suck out of them for this? And their answer is?
So I tell them, it doesn't cost you anything. Well, what do you mean? There's always a trick. No, I'm going to get my buyer to pay me. See, the guy, and this is very chauvinistic to say, but the guy has a wife that wants her kids in a school system or wants a better house or wants a bedroom for the third kid or whatever, is hounding him, or they're living in his mother-in-law's house and they don't want to be, right? So he's got the pressure. Then all of a sudden, one day he sees this ad, house for sale, no bank qualifying. Wow, I got to go check that out. Now watch this.
Yeah.
If I were to sell you my computer today for $1,000 and you gave me $1,000 cash, how much did you pay for the computer? No trick question there, right? Okay. What if I sold you my computer today for $1,000 and you swiped a credit card and you paid for it over the course of 2 years? You're no longer paying $1,000. You're paying more because because you don't have the money now. You're paying monthly. You have to pay more because of interest.
Yeah.
I didn't make this rule up. This is the American way, right? So
no, if somebody's asking for something, they have to give something too. And I'm glad you're explaining that, because the first time I heard you say that, I'm thinking to myself, geez, you're paying $200,000, you expect to sell it to somebody for $210,000? What are you, crazy? It must be impossible to find that crazy buyer. But it's not, because in their situation, they're in that spot where if they don't do this deal, they get nothing. They stay in the apartment forever.
And you know what? Hundreds and hundreds of these deals, maybe not hundreds, maybe not quite that. A lot of these deals, maybe 100, 150, I don't know how many. A lot of these deals I've done, or hundreds of transactions that I've done. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I seldom, I can count on one hand somebody that argue with me on the price of a house. It's always how much is a down payment and how much per month.
Yeah, and because you're not paying that.
And if the guy says to me, will you take less than 210? I'm like, my answer is absolutely. What'd you have in mind? Well, I want to pay 200. Okay, perfect. We can do that. You ready to close within the next 30 days? Well, no. Okay, well, if you want to pay 200, that's what you got to do. You got to come up with the money in the next 30 days. If you qualify for a mortgage, then we'll close for 200. Or I'll say you can buy for 203 or 2 and make myself $3,000 for doing it.
Yeah.
And they never say. So the very few times that happened to me, that was my response. Okay,
sure, and that's the whole point. And people are actually, they freak out when they find out they can get into a house instead of renting forever. They lease for another year or two, and then they're in. and they'll pay that little extra because they have to. They got no other choice. And for them, they're saving on rent and rent and rent and rent and rent. In the long term, look at all the numbers again, the whole story. They're ahead of the game. So we're doing them a great service, and they're always thrilled. And the wife is relieved, and the husband's out of the jailhouse.
Exactly right. Now, listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
You made $10,000 for buying an option for $100 from your seller. So you paid $100 for this option, and you sold it for 10 grand.
Yep.
And all you did was assign it to your buyer and do some paperwork and the marketing. Which, by the way, Facebook makes the marketing very easy. You could do Zillow too. We do Zillow rental ads. We do Zillow too. And I could tell you right now, apartments.com, I'm advertising an apartment that I'm trying to sell right now. And I'm blowing I have my realtor doing it for me because I don't want to go show it a million times because I got too much going on.
Yeah.
I'm blowing up his phone because every single day I got 5 or 6 people that are inquiring about this apartment. So apartments.com would be another place to put it.
Oh, clever. Good.
Right? You don't buy the house. You get that. There's no risk here. You're not buying a house. You're buying the paperwork. You're doing what Nelson Rockefeller said. You
Exactly.
don't own anything. You control everything.
Yep.
So you're not owning this house. You're just controlling it with the paperwork, right? And you made money doing it. It's incredible.
You know, there's a business model that's taught in business school, which is, and it's just logic. You find a need and you fill it. You find something that is a problem out there that no one has a solution for, and you fill it. So there are people that are trying to sell the house and they're over leveraged and they're having trouble doing it. And there's people that are trying to buy a house and they got trouble getting it for some problems. And you find this technique that finds a solution to all this where everybody comes out ahead. And it's great. And you're providing a service to do that. So you're getting paid to do that. And that's all it is. It doesn't work for everybody, but it doesn't have to. It just has to work one here, one there, one here, one there, and everyone's in. Exactly. That's it. Period. Exactly. It's not like who came up with this scheme. This has been going on for a long, 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 long time.
Before realtors.
Before.
All right. So just to be clear, we're putting $100 in or $10, whatever one you use. I'm saying we put $100 in, we pull the one-armed bandit, and all the jokers come up, and we get $10,000 that comes out.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's a few points before we end off. If the buyer doesn't have 10 grand, now listen to me because I'm telling you, I've been doing this for 21 years. And for 20 years, I did not do this. And I am pissed off at myself because of it.
Gee, Bill, I never thought of you as a slow learner.
Well, I am a slow learner. But when I get it, holy shit, do I get it.
It's not that. It's just once in a while you find one other thing that you can do to just enhance things a bit and make things work a little better. And it's, there's a lot of little tweaks in there. And you found it. Tell us your latest interesting little tweak, Bill.
So if the buyer doesn't have 10 grand, you could take, just for mathematical purposes, you could take $5,000 now.
Mm-hmm.
Then you write a note between you and the buyer. It has nothing to do with the seller, you and the buyer, where they pay you $208 a month, which is $5 grand divided by $2,400. I mean, 24 months.
Right.
Okay, so you take the $5 grand and divide it by 24, and it gives you $208 a month.
So he puts $5,000 down and makes payments on the rest of it.
Now pay attention to me because I'm going to say this, and I'm not sure that it's going to settle in your mind the way it settles in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, there's a trigger for me to do this.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah. Trigger is if I have next week we're going to do a podcast that is going to blow everything away. I'm going to do a podcast next week that is going to be incredible. Actually, 291 is a podcast number. What I'm going to do is I did this in an email and I read it. In fact, you read this email on the coaching call and you printed it out.
Oh yeah, during the call, and Mary's reading it like, ooh, yeah.
So I'm going to show you all the benefits of doing subject to that nobody talks about. right? But the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because here's what happens. You collect $208 a month on a note. You go into apartments.com and you set it up on an auto pay and you set it and forget it. Now, I've gotten coaching clients. Well, what happens if they don't pay? It's found money. Who cares?
Yeah. When you say $10,000 down, that's just an arbitrary. They might have 8. They might say got 12 or 15. You're just making a ballpark number. We don't ask for a specific number in the advertising.
Right.
We just see what people like. How much do you have to put down? I got 20. Whoa. And how much do you make? Really? And that guy raises the top of the class. So it could be, ballpark.
Right. So here's the trigger for me. Here's the trigger.
What is
if you do a $210,000 mortgage, which, by the way, that's the biggest mistake a lot of my coaching clients make, is they go to Rentometer thinking that the rent is $1,300. How could you charge $1,500? No. I don't do that. I don't look at Rentometer. I am not renting.
No.
I am giving the buyer an intermediate loan so they can get qualified.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm looking at is I'm going to charge the $210, even though they're giving me $10,000 down. I'm going to put $210,000 in at the current interest rate. We'll say 4%. I'm going to add the taxes and the insurance, and I'm going to come up with how much they would have to pay if they were to go get a mortgage for $210.
Yep.
That's what I use as a gauge because it's just mathematics. If they buy this house, they're going to have to do that. I add $200 to that number.
Mm-hmm.
I keep my deals. I'm not keeping this deal. When I keep the deals, I add $200. But we're not keeping this deal. So here's my point. When you do that, the payment of $1,500 is too low because it should be $1,700.
Mm-hmm.
So the trigger for me is I feel like I'm leaving money on the table. If I give it to my seller and say, here's your lease with an option. I made $10,000, so here you go. So I'd rather take, because I'm going to tell you, once you get money, you may not know this, or you may know this. Once you get money, it disappears. You put $5,000 in a checkbook, and it's not likely that it'll stay there. Even if you're a saver, there's a whole trick to that. Like you need to save for a reason. Money is an energy. If it doesn't have a reason, like I'm saving this to buy a house, then it stays there. But if you just save it, like in a savings account, that's when your car will break and the house will flood and all the things, because the money is trapped and doesn't have a purpose.
Yep.
Right. So what I'm saying is the 5,000 will come and go. Okay. But that $208 a month will be glorious.
It's the gift that keeps on coming.
So how many of these deals do you need to do before you can not work overtime, before you can go on that vacation? How about this, Peter? Imagine this. You did one deal, and you got $208 a month, and you just put that in an IRA or a retirement account.
Mm.
How much would that turn into in 30 years from now?
Sure.
Right?
Oh, sure.
Huge.
Yeah.
So my trigger is, if I'd rather take $5,000 or $6,000 down and then collect the 208 or the 200 every month, and then build up those monthly payments, because that cash flow is what's going to free me up. It's going to keep me from having to work my job and doing all the things that I have to do to get money now. It's going to free me up. Right? Or to hell with it. Go buy a car and get a 2-year loan and have this guy make your payment for you.
Yep.
Go buy a living room set and have somebody pay it for it. I mean, you see what I mean? It's endless.
When you're self-employed, like I'm doing less music lessons now and more real estate, but when I did just music lessons, I think I need to do something. Well, I need 2 more students, and that's some car payment. I would do it like that. But here's a point I just noticed on this. There's a debate going on that what's better, to get big chunks of cash or cash flow, right? That's the thing that goes on in people's heads. Which one should I do? Guess what? You get both of this. You get a nice little chunk that pays your debt down. Then you get the cash flow for living expenses. Debt goes away, cash flow increases. Debt goes away, cash flow increases. No more debt, cash flow, money in your pocket, cash flow. It's a no-brainer.
Exactly. All right, let's move on because we got to get out of here.
Gotta go.
The next point is, what if the buyer doesn't perform at the end of the 2 years? You tell your seller to call you and you can do it again. This gives you a built-in machine for getting more deals.
Yeah.
Right? Now think about this. The seller's getting rent money. He's paying his mortgage with that rent money.
Yeah.
So that means every mortgage he pays, he reduces principal by some amount. Right?
Yeah.
So he reduces principal by some amount. So sooner or later, the mortgage is going to reduce to a point where he can absorb his closing cost. If one of our people don't perform, he could just go put it on the market and sell it because now he can absorb it. So if he does this 1 or 2 times for 2 years or 4 years, and you're setting him up to do this, so he doesn't have the hassles, all he does is just collect money. And when he stops collecting money, he calls you and you say, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And you call the people and chase them down because here's the deal. You're going to get another deal. You're going to get another 10 grand. And maybe this time you might get 15 because he's willing to sell to you for 195 instead of 200. Maybe the market went up and you can get 215 instead of 210. It's a built-in machine for you. Right? So the next thing is, what about if they ruin the place? Well, here's my quick analogy on that. If you were to go on vacation today and fly there, okay, likelihood is you would rent a car. If you rented a car, are you going to wash it? Are you going to change the tires? Are you going to do a tune-up? You going to do all that stuff?
Not even when I turn it in. Not vacuuming it, nothing.
Nothing, right? Nothing. But if you own the car, would you do it?
The right answer is yes.
You would take care of it, right?
Sure.
Or at least you would try to. Most people do anyway, right?
Yeah.
This is exactly how your lease option tenant is going to be because they're not renting. The way we set it up is we let them know that we are selling it to them and we are the intermediate bank. We're giving them a loan for 2 years until they can qualify for a loan.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get them to qualify for a loan? Well, you get them to qualify for a loan by simply having them go to the mortgage agent, preferably an FHA mortgage agent, and have them apply. Okay? They apply. They're going to get rejected. We know that. But now they come back with a list of things that they have to do. You call my friend Steven at Bedrock Credit Repair in Danbury, Connecticut. I don't have his number on hand. Mr. Steven at Bedrock Credit Repair in Danbury, Connecticut, and you give him the name of your seller, the name of your buyer, the name of your seller, and the list of why they didn't qualify, and let him call them up and get the buyer to pay him for whatever they need to do, whether it's credit repair or put them on a budget or whatever they got to do, and let him do the bank qualifying for you. And you're done. Remember the podcast? I forgot the name. It was like 4 podcasts ago. We talked about finding a who.
Yeah. You
need to ask yourself, who could do this for me? Stop asking yourself, how could I do this? Because how I do this is more work. But if you find the who, then it's less work. Well, Steven, I think that's his last name, actually.
Steven. That's interesting, Bill.
No, I think his first name is, I think it's Robert Steven or something like that.
But there's people do this all over the country, right?
Yeah, you could Google it as well. But he does a great job because he just knows how to. If you tell them they're trying to get a mortgage and here's the reasons why they can't get the mortgage, he will work on that list he'll call the buyer up, he'll make a deal with them, they'll pay him, and he'll get going. You're giving them every advantage possible to go get a mortgage.
Right. And they got to fix it. We shouldn't have to fix it anyways. It's their problem. Don't solve problems for people. They'll just find more. Let them solve their own. They can do it.
But think of it this way. Did you just create value for your seller? Did you just create tremendous value for your buyer? Hell yeah. So why should you not make $10,000? $10,000 is not enough money for these services.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you right now, me not charging you to learn how to do this on this podcast is a crime within itself. Because here's what happens. You won't value my information because you're not paying for it. It'll decrease my value. You won't believe me when I'm saying because you're not paying for the information. Mm. Worst of all, your results will be low because you're not paying for the information. So because I'm giving you this information for free, it's actually a crime because you will not use the information because there's not an exchange with you and I.
This is not entertainment information.
No.
It's educational.
So how do you get the buyer qualified for a mortgage? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do all the legal paperwork for your state. And what if you don't know what to say to these sellers? That's what the link in the chat, what the link in the description is for. All those goodies are packed in there waiting for you to get immediately. And I'm not selling anything. It's all for free.
Why? After what you just said.
Why would I do that?
After what you just said, tell me why.
The reason why we made this podcast and the reason why I'm doing those materials is because I believe in working once and getting paid over and over again. I'm tired of having to tell people this on my one-on-one interviews. I got to go through this whole spiel every single time. Or if somebody wants to know, it's like annoying. So now that I've recorded this podcast and now that I put that link in there, I just tell people, you want to know how to do that? Go to episode 290. Intentionally done on a number that I can remember. Go to episode number 290 and listen to the episode and go get your shit. Leave me alone.
Yep.
Now here's what happens. Two things. Number one, karma. The reason why I've lasted 21 years and done hundreds of deals is because of karma. Because I don't go into a deal thinking how much can I make. That's not the first step. There is a step to do that. That's in the deal meeting, which is about step 6.
Yeah.
In the beginning, all I want to know is what can I do to help you? What can I do to solve your problem? What can I do to make myself valuable to you? And then I do that. Now, Peter, I'm going to rattle this off. We don't have time because it's over an hour. But think of it this way. Here's my formula. And I had a big realization on this formula.
Yeah.
Because it's exactly the way our flow works. Think of it this way. So the formula for every deal is, number one, find and communicate to a motivated seller.
Yeah.
You don't convert them, you find and communicate. That's our texting.
Yeah.
Number two, here's the big realization. Number two, tell them that you're willing to pay payments or give them some sort of a discount. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. We used to say, we buy houses. No, what you do is you tell them, we take over monthly payments or make monthly payments, or we'll buy it if you give us some sort of a discount.
Mm-hmm.
That's the opening call.
Yeah, that's more specific. Good.
Number 3, you do the discovery step and you find out what's needed and wanted. That's the closing call.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, you give them what they want. That's the deal meeting.
Yeah.
It's miraculous.
Yeah.
Okay. So, by the way, I want to go back to karma. The reason why karma works for me is because I help people. I tell every seller, every buyer, if you're like, especially sellers, if you decide to sell this house and you're with a realtor and you don't know what's going on, no charge, call me and I'll spend 10 minutes with you on the phone and help you. You know how many people call me? Not many, but it sounds, when I'm talking to them, it's very sincere because I mean it.
Yeah.
Right?
And they know it too.
So karma, how many sellers have I helped? How many buyers have I helped? And how many students have I helped? So here's what's going to happen. If you go get this information for free, which I'm going to, because the free stuff is ending, I'm setting myself up with certain things I'm going to give away and the rest of it I'm taking away. This is one of them. What's going to happen is if I could help you find a deal and make a deal with with this slot machine, when it's time for you to learn more, where are you going to go? Because I helped you. Now, not everybody's going to do that, but I'm willing to play my odds. Sure. So if I helped you get a deal and you put a support ticket and I helped you get a deal, then when it's time for you to spend money, I hope you're going to come back to me.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing it. All right. I want to leave with this one last thought before we end off today, okay?
Sure.
If you have ever rented a place to live in the past for yourself or for someone else, you're about 97% of the way to doing this. You don't need to study. This is the kid on the bicycle analogy. You already know how to do it. Just trust yourself and go do it. And the package I'm giving you has paperwork, has a place. For $25, I show you where to go get legal advice in your own state, in your backyard. For $25, I show you how to do that.
Yeah,
so
and it's not 25 to you. That's what you pay the legal advice. It's not you getting $25. No, not you.
By the way, it's per month, and you can go back there as many times as you want. So if you do 2 deals, you can get 2 deals. So it's $25 per month. It's not per deal.
Yeah.
Okay. I show you where to get the forms. I show you how to fill them out. I do all that. I show you how to sell it. I show you how to advertise. I show you how everything is there waiting for you for free. Okay. Now, hear this. That's if you're going to do it manually. We don't do it manually. We automate everything so we can do more deals. But for your first couple deals, you can do it manually and at least learn the system. Okay. So if you've ever rented a place in the past, which 96% of all adults have done this, then you already had the experience of doing this. You don't need to learn much more than that. Just go into the description, click on the link, and follow along with the lessons for a couple days, and you'll know how to make money from doing that. You'll know how to make money from learning from you renting a place in the past. You already had the experience and don't need to worry about screwing it up then. Just go into the description, click on the link, review my package, and you could actually do this within the next 30 days, guaranteed. So don't procrastinate, mate. Go now. The end.